Welcome back. Resume. If my memory is correct, we're talking to what's-her-face? Yeah. What's up, girl? How Knight wound up in the prison proper. You are aware of the incident involving Mr. Knight the day before yesterday, I assume? He assaulted an innocent guard and stole his keys. Later, in the middle of moving a large animal cage, Mr. Saint stopped by Mr. Knight's cell for a little visit. That's when Mr. Knight stole out of his cell using the keys he'd stolen. He slipped into the cage, and there he hid as he was wheeled to one of the prison workshops. I figured she was going to bring up Mr. Saint going to Knight's cell. Yesterday, after you so kindly made us aware of the security camera footage, we decided to take a look at it ourselves. Perhaps you would like to see what we found? This is still from the footage we received. Mr. Saint speaking with Knight at his cell, correct? You will also note that he has positioned the cage in such a way to obscure... I mean, I can see him right there. Is it this blind spot that Mr. Knight exploited in order to enter the cage undetected? A sound deduction based on what can be observed, wouldn't you say? A blind spot, which means that the camera wouldn't have been able to capture the moment Knight entered the cage if he did at all. So it's still possible that he didn't actually leave his cell at this point. I don't get it. Why would Mr. Knight want to hide in the cage? There's really only one possibility. He intended to escape. A prison break. That's so cool. Mr. Carceretto, Mr. Knight, everybody's doing it. I have to step up my game. Okay, now's really not the time. Mr. Carceretto's escape is no laughing matter. It is my belief that Mr. Saint helped Mr. Knight with his escape attempt. That is to say, he was his accomplice. Wow, go Simeon. That wasn't a compliment. I understand that the cage was briefly taken to one of the workshops. I imagine that had things gone to plan, Mr. Knight would have remained in the cage until after the show, and then removed from the premises along with the rest of the circus's equipment. Unfortunately for Mr. Knight, Mr. Saint had other ideas. He killed his friend in cold blood. You still have a motive. Isn't that important? Judge Gavelle's argument seems reasonable, but there must be fault in her logic somewhere. I'm gonna find it. You are aware of the incident involving Mr. Knight, blah blah blah. Yes, I'm aware. So do you have proof of that?
Hold it!
Do you have any proof that Knight stole the keys? I can think of no other reason for him to carry out such a brutal attack. Once the guard he assaulted regains consciousness, I am sure he will confirm our suspicion. I feel like it's pretty obvious that the boxing dude did that, and that's how he escaped. He dressed up as a guard, unlocked the thing with his keys, left, dressed as a guard, etc. I wouldn't be so sure. Perhaps I should press her further on her reasoning. Yes. Sorry, but I believe there is a flaw in your reasoning. If Knight had the keys, there was nothing to stop him from leaving whenever he wanted. Why wait for Mr. Saint? There was no need, surely. He chose the option he deemed most likely to succeed. He stole the keys and hid them somewhere, then waited for an opportune moment to present himself. He hid the keys. I'm afraid you might have made an uncharacteristic oversight, Your Honor. But Knight wasn't hiding any keys. That has been proven already. And this is the piece of evidence that proved that Knight didn't have the keys? The guard was attacked, and his keys, including the one to Knight's cell, were stolen. They have yet to be recovered.
Take that!
Since you know about the incident, I assume you already know about this, but after the assault, the guards searched both Knight and his cell. No keys were found. And if the whereabouts of the keys cannot be proven, then neither can your theory. I've considered the matter. I'm looking forward to, seeing her, freak out reaction that everybody gets. But so far, she's been very calm. I've considered the matter of the missing keys, and I do not think it's such an issue. I still believe he had them. After all, the guards only stated that they were unable to locate them. And this is because they were cleverly hidden inside the pocket chest set. Knight's chess set, the same set in which the murder weapon was allegedly hidden? Was it? I can't help but wonder about that. What? But you're the one who proposed it. Actually, if you recall, that was, what's his name? Eustace's assertion. So the two of them aren't of one mind on this, I take it. Allow me to restate the facts. Mr. Knight hid the keys he stole from the guard inside his chess set. When Mr. Saint came to see him, Mr. Knight used the keys to open his cell and climbed inside the cage. He was then moved from his holding cell to the workshop in the prison proper. All with the help of his friend and accomplice. Had things gone according to plan, he would have been taken out of the facility after the show. But they did not. Instead, his accomplice murdered him while the show was taking place in the yard.
Objection!
But Mr. Saint was a part of that performance. How would he even have the time to commit to the murder?
Overruled.
How indeed, allow me to explain. As you know, many stage performances follow a set narrative. Yesterday's show was one such example. She's done her homework, I see. The suspect played the role of the antagonist opposite the elephant heroine of the show. In the latter part of the performance, the heroine's love prevails and the villain is defeated. This victory is depicted in a very unique manner, whereby the villain is sent flying from the stage by the heroine. He's sent flying by the elephant, poor guy. Isn't that dangerous? Having been ejected from the stage, let's ignore that. Having been ejected from the stage in this manner, the villain no longer appears in the performance. In other words, the suspect did not appear on stage for a period of approximately 15 minutes. And you're saying the crime took place during that time? Yes, I'm afraid so. After all, it's more than a sufficient window, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
Committing the crime and returning to the stage in that short 15-minute window is only possible, assuming that the murder took place in the prison proper. But in fact, Your Honor, the real scene of the crime was Knight's cell. I seem to remember telling you that I would not accept that part of the security footage as evidence. And you won't have to. I have proof of a different kind. Very well. Would you be so good as to present it? What proof do you have that the murder took place in the victim's holding cell? No. Wasn't there blood? Yeah.
Take that!
This appears to be a photograph of a floor. Almighty Goddess of Justice, grant me patience. That floor you're so dismissive of, Your Honor, has traces of Knight's blood on it. Traces, you say? Is this evidence reliable? After all, I don't believe you have access to the necessary forensic operators. I have my resources. A certain blunt instrument, you might say, but a reliable one. The detective, how very unfortunate for him. Perhaps before you decided to circumvent the law, you might have considered that the committee's influence extends to the police. Ha ha ha. Oh no, now Gummy's badge is on the line too. Forgive me, Detective. I didn't mean to put you at risk as well. I will answer the fact that Mr. Knight's blood was found in the holding cell into evidence. However...
Objection!
Yuck, bad luck, idiots. You're really on the edge now, Mr. Worthless. Mr. Winner, I'd forgotten you were there. It was nice while it lasted. I just butted in to tell you that your entire argument is one big inconsistency. You showed us camera footage of a dog killing Mr. Knight in his cell. Are you saying the mud also wiped the blood up before it left the scene? Uh-oh. What other trick's gonna do, huh? A blood-wiping dog, you're a joke. You'd have wiped that blood up, wouldn't you, boy? Yes, Helmy, yes you would. What? That was one of the tricks I taught him before our work together was so rudely cut short. He's a very tidy boy, you know, never misses a drop. It wouldn't do to leave any evidence, after all. I mean, wasn't expecting him to help me. Saved by an assassin of all people. Jeez Louise, you could have just taught the little guy to shake hands. Oh, he does that marvelously too. Although the way I taught him to do it is somewhat unorthodox. First he bites down hard on the victim's hand, then, la 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 la, I'm not listening. I see, very well then, Mr. Edgeworth. It seems you may have gathered some evidence worth considering.
Objection!
Your understanding is much appreciated. Wait, I'm not done yet. I just thought of something else. Overruled. Oh boy, somebody's taking no prisoners. Eustace, would you be so kind as to allow me? All yours, Gavel. Well, do you accept the truth now? The crime took place in Knight's holding cell, and the assassin's dog was the killer. My position is the same as it was yesterday. Until you can explain how the dog moved between the prison and the detention center, I cannot accept your theory into evidence. I thought you might say that, which is why I'd like to show you something else. This piece of evidence, the tunnel.
Take that!
This is... It's a secret passageway. It runs beneath the prison. What? Ah, that left a mark. The secret passageway? It was dug by one Mr. Rocco Carceretto escapee. It leads from his prison cell to a certain holding cell in the detention center. Yes, the very one where the victim was being held. Well, this is certainly a surprise to think it was beneath our feet this entire time. Mr. Canis, you knew of this tunnel, didn't you? Because it's the same tunnel that was used to carry out the murder. In the name of the Goddess of Justice. Overruled, Mr. Edgeworth. You are out of line. How so, Your Honor? Stop overruling me. Evidence is everything, whether in a court of law or at the scene of an investigation. Isn't that your little catchphrase? Well, it just so happens that I have some evidence of my own. Bronco Knight's autopsy report. His autopsy report? When did we get that? How do you not know you had it? The police handed it over to me only a short while ago. The findings are still preliminary, but it has something of value to tell us nonetheless. The Goddess of Justice speaks to us through these pages, Mr. Edgeworth. Cause of death, stab wound to the throat, and the weapon is said to be a sharp blade of some sort. It seems the victim was stabbed repeatedly in the same spot, resulting in an ugly wound. As such, the police have yet to identify the exact shape of the weapon. But its overall nature seems to be beyond question. It is a bladed metal instrument. In light of this evidence, do you truly wish to continue with your flight of fancy? Or will you now claim that the dog used a knife instead? This is where we all just look at the assassin. He's like, actually, I have trained the dog to use knives. That will be all. This court is adjourned. But the tunnel, the paw prints... What of them? Helmut is something of a wanderer. Perhaps he just happened across this tunnel one day. Although I couldn't say for certain, I myself cannot wander quite so freely. That would be quite a coincidence, but I can't prove it's not the case either. She sure knows... Okay, so here's my new theory. Dog... The Carcerado killed dude. Dog dragged him, like, out of the cell. Carcerado hung out in the cell, pretending to be Mr. Knight. So when the guard showed up, Carcerado attacked the guard. Okay, that's my new theory. She sure knows how to keep a secret. Kinda wish she'd kicked us in the teeth a little early with that. She was baiting me, waiting for the perfect moment to crush me with that autopsy report. And I fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. You are lead attorney for the defense, correct, Mr. Fender? This is the intern autopsy report in question. I do apologize for the delay. Yeah, no sweat. Thanks for hooking us up. Yep, this all checks out. Yep. Mr. Fender, a handshake is not necessary when receiving official court documents, you know. So please, feel free to let go of my hand. It's not a holy relic, after all. We're just trying to be friendly, Your Honor. Had you lingered a moment longer, the Goddess of Justice would have spoken to you through my gavel. Alright, I got it. Nice work, Gavel. Just like we planned it. So, I did only as you instructed, Eustace, but thank you. This report came from the police. I have no choice but to accept its legitimacy. But if the dog didn't kill Knight, then that takes Canis out of the running. The Goddess of Justice speaks to me, Mr. Edgeworth, and she is merciful. She tells me that you might yet keep your badge if you will finally abandon this fruitless quest. What's our move, sir? I think she really means it this time. What do you think, Detective? My answer remains the same, Judge Gavel. I will see my duty done, and I will not be intimidated. Even with how things stand, you still refuse to concede. This may very well be your last chance. Your badge hangs by a thread. Then let it fall if it must. I have something far more important to protect as an associate attorney. My client. The Goddess of Justice is no doubt saddened by your refusal to accept yet another offer of mercy. Hehe, attaboy, Miles. That's what I like to see. Looks like the defense never rests is really starting to mean something to you. Credit to your old man, though. He's the one who said it first. My father. In fact, I could swear I saw Gregory's spirit in you for a second there. You said that you've changed since your days in Von Karma's shadow. I didn't believe you at first, but I'm starting to. Thank you, Fender. Alright, kids. This is where the rubber really hits the road. Put your thinking caps on. It's make or break time. If it's true that Knight was offed with a bladed weapon, does our whole case really fall apart? A bladed weapon, of course. There were 5 chisels in Canis' cell when we last looked. A former assassin certainly wouldn't struggle to commit murder with a tool like that, in which case the weapon that killed Canis was... Have you quite finished?
Hold it!
It would be in your best interest to concede. Evidence is everything. It may well be my little catchphrase, but it's also true. So the murder weapon was a sharp blade. Then where is it? The guards didn't find it. Why can't you let this go? So what if they didn't find it? What are you driving at? What if I were to tell you that I now know where the real murder weapon was? And it was right under our noses the whole time indeed. It was one of Mr. Canis' chisels. What?
Overruled.
I would advise you to stop bombarding us with your irresponsible half-baked theories, Mr. Edgeworth. You have repeatedly insisted that Mr. Canis was killed in his cell by a dog. I simply go where the evidence takes me, both in the courtroom and at the scene of the crime. If the murder weapon was in fact a chisel, then yes, the murderer could not have been the dog. But that begs the question of what exactly is it we saw in the security footage. Oh yeah, the security footage. How do you explain that, Mr. Smarty Pants? An excellent footage. The footage shows... the dog jumping on someone. He didn't kill him, but he jumped on him. Mr. Canis' dog jumping up at Knight. The dog attacked Knight, but he didn't kill the man. He didn't? No. Knight was merely knocked out. The dog didn't drag a corpse through the tunnel, he dragged an alive, but unconscious Knight. The real killer was the dog's master. Oh, I get it. By bringing Knight here, Mr. Canis could finish the job. And he could definitely use one of those chisels to do it. Correct. You, that name Canis, you're the only one who could have done it. Hehehe.
Objection!
Hey, Mr. Edgeworth, you ever get this on your report card? Refuses to listen, must learn to respect others. Are you asking me or confessing to what's on yours? We already searched Mr. Canis' cell from top to bottom, right, Gavel? Yes, we even inspected his chisels, all 4 of them. There wasn't a single speck of blood. Why, thank you, Your Honor. You have just confirmed my theory. I have? What exactly do you mean? The last time we were here, there were 5 chisels, not 4. Oh yeah, I remember counting them. Definitely 5. And the one that's missing is... the small one, the one we thought might be a pocket chisel. Mr. Canis, where did you hide that chisel? A pocket chisel? And what use might I have for such a thing? I am rarely allowed to leave my cell. In which case, he shouldn't have had the chance to dispose of the weapon. You dug your own grave, Mr. Canis. You seem to have an idea of where the missing chisel might be, Mr. Edgeworth. Would you enlighten us? For a man who can't leave his cell of his own volition, Canis could only have hidden the chisel here. So it had to be here, if he can't leave, unless the dog took it somewhere.
Take that!
The chisel's on a bell, and the dog wears a bell, so I think the chisel's hidden on the dog. Mr. Canis is still a prisoner, despite the comfort he enjoys, He's rarely allowed out of his cell. He could have given the chisel to his dog to leave somewhere, but that would have been far from ideal. He would have no way to guarantee where it might end up. Hehehe, intriguing. Do go on, Mr. Edgeworth. Furthermore, this room is the one place where the bladed instrument wouldn't raise an eyebrow. 4 chisels, 5 chisels, who's counting? A fact he took full advantage of. Ah, the old keep the incriminating evidence close routine. Classic.
Objection!
But I looked, I searched the whole cell myself, and there's just nowhere he could have hidden it.
Objection!
I hate this guy. I am certain that the murder weapon is here, and that the reason why no one has found it yet is because it was hidden in such an ingenious manner. Hehehe, do enlighten us, Mr. Edgeworth? What was my ingenious plan? This guy just gets off on, like, me unraveling his plan. It's like he's the perfect criminal, which the downside of being the perfect criminal is that there's no one to appreciate your work because you never get caught. Think, Miles, there must be a hiding spot he can make use of. Think about when you came here previously. What are you missing? He's not showing us out permanently, right? Let's get out of here. Come on. The dog. He hasn't made a sound today. When we were here before, he barked and growled repeatedly. Canis even encouraged him to do so. That must be it. I knew something was off. I can hardly believe it, but I think I know where he hid the murder weapon. Giving up already? Kiki, I expected more of you, Edward. As well you should, if you would give me a moment. For this piece of evidence shows where you hid the murder weapon. The dog? Yeah.
Take that!
Your dog. He seems unusually quiet today. Oh yeah, unlike last time when we... Mr. Canis, if you'd be so kind as to open Helmet's mouth. Oh, come now. He hasn't barked because he is a well-behaved boy. I had to order him last time. Then order him again this instant. It's not like we're asking for the world, Mr. Canis, or do you have something to hide? If you insist, come now, Helmet, open up. And there we have it. A chisel that small with... What? A chisel in the dog? Why is there a chisel in the dog? I thought he had been strangely quiet. I guess his brain has finally caught up. Eustace, why don't you be a good boy and call forensics? Tell them it's urgent. Ah, okay. Traces of blood were detected on the chisel. What? Not such a half-baked theory after all, was it? Hehe, alright. So we're all on the same page here. This is our murder weapon, yeah? The forensics evidence cannot be ignored. We have no choice but to concede that this is most likely the case. Good job. Mr. Canis, in light of the discovery of the murder weapon, the court demands that you explain yourself. We found the route your dog took to the holding cells, and now we have the chisel. How do you propose to talk your way out of this one? Hehehehe, you never fail to entertain, Mr. Edgeworth. Why does he always laugh like that, even when it's not funny? Poor Helmut. How could they suspect us? You leave me little choice. I shall simply have to share with you the truth. I did not kill anyone. I have grown tired of killing. Something's not right. Why is he so calm? Very well, the court will hear Mr. Canis' testimony. If you would be so kind. Hehehe, gladly. Perhaps you might begin by explaining what you believe my motive to have been. I never knew this knight. I had no contact with him, no connection whatsoever. Given that this is the case, why would I possibly wish him dead? Ah, could it be you are suggesting that it was my canine companion who had the motive instead? Hehehe, Helmut only bears his fangs when I tell him to. I am not so bloodthirsty that I would kill a man I did not know. I mean, when he puts it that way. An assassin who only kills his acquaintances? Not the soundest business model, I agree. My work requires me to deal with strangers, of course, but murder for its own sake? That's not my style. so I need to prove a link between Knight and Canis. I should go over the evidence again and see what I can discover. Canis' defense, which we'll go over next time. Bye-bye.